FlossTube, I'm Annie and I am the proper stitcher, and welcome to my scissor fob tutorial. I have had a lot of you request a tutorial on how to make scissor fobs, and these are scissor fobs. It is a cute little accessory for your scissors, and I like to think of scissor fobs as like wine tags for your wine glasses. They mark your scissors. So if you're ever at a retreat or with some stitching friends and you all have similar scissors, you know which one's yours because you have marked it. It's also a great little accessory, so when you're looking in your bag, you can quickly find your scissors, and they're just pretty. So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you a quick way to make them. I'm going to tell you everything you need, especially with it being the holiday season right now. I think that this would make a great little gift that you can make very easily, very quickly. You can also make them for birthday presents or just as a little happy for the next stitching retreat you may go to and you want to share some gifts with your friends. So grab a pen and paper and stick around. I'm going to show you how to do this step by step. Okay, so we're back and I am going to show you how to make a scissor fob. I wanted to show it to you a little bit up close before we get started. So I'm going to take it off of my scissors. So this is the scissor fob, and here is basically what you have. You have a lobster clasp, you have a crimping bead, and what the crimping bead is your start and your end point. So you have a crimping bead, any beads that you want. I usually do about 6 or 7 beads, depending on how big the beads are. You end with a crimping bead, and then your charm is on the end. So I'm going to show you step by step how to do this. Everything I'm going to show you today I got from Joann's, but I also like to buy my charms. This charm came from Etsy. I like to buy my charms from Etsy and beads from Etsy. You can buy them in bulk, and sometimes they're just a lot more economical and you have more options. So this charm came from Etsy, but the charms I'm going to show you today came from Joann's. So let's get started. So the first thing you're going to need is bead wire. This bead wire is comes in this container. You can buy more economical beading wire on a spool, so you get more of it in bulk, but I like this container because it keeps it from tangling up on me. This is a 19, so they come in 7, 19, and 49 strand, and what that means is their flexibility. So this is 19, so this string has a little bit more flexibility than the 49 would. The thickness of this wire is 0.15 inches or 0.38 millimeters. So this is the beading wire I like to use. It comes in this easy dispenser where you can pull it out, but it's not retractable. So that's the first thing you'll need is beading wire. You'll need some wire cutters or floral wire cutters and a crimping tool that is used to crimp the start and end crimping bead. So a crimping tool. You will need a lobster clasp. You can also buy lobster clasp on Amazon in bulk if you wanted to buy several of these. You will need the crimping beads, and the crimping beads look like this. I had already had this open and out of the container, but they come in different styles, but they're not going to have any decorative element to your scissor fob, so they're going to be plain, but crimping beads. And then any color combination of beads that you want. Today I'm doing Christmas, so I'm just doing red and green and some clear beads. And then your charms, and the charms will go on the end of your scissor fob. So these charms I did get in a pack from Joann's. So there's a snowman and a snowflake and a bow and so on. So I also have like a little container that I keep my beads in, but while I'm working on them for today's purposes, I've put them out in these little metal containers, these little bundt tins, excuse me. So what you do is you cut your wire, and I usually like to cut it about 7 inches, and that's probably more than you need, but I like for it to be a little bit longer so that I have plenty of room at the end to work with. So you cut your wire, and then you take your lobster clasp. And so what you're going to do is you're going to feed it through the hole and bend it and make a little tail. So you have your lobster clasp, push it through the wire through the hole, bend it with a little tail, and then you take a crimping bead. And sometimes these things are really difficult to pick up because they're so small. So then you feed your crimping bead, or you thread it through the wire, and then you make sure it goes over your tail. So you now have the crimping bead through your long tail and your short tail. And then you take your crimping tool and you simply crimp the bead. And that is going to it's going to give it a good stop. So you cannot pull this bead or this wire through. It sort of ties it on there. So that is the purpose of the crimping bead. And once you do that, it leaves this tail here and then the long tail. So then you put your first bead, and this is where you can just do whatever you want to do. So I'm going to start with the green, and then you want to feed it through that tail. So at this point, you can either cut this tail off or you can feed the next bead through. I'm going to go ahead and cut it off for right now. And it might leave a little bit of it on there. I think my wire cutters are a little dull. It might leave a little bit of a tail, but your next bead will cover that. So you can just simply do another bead straight on, or you can do a decorative silver bead to give it a little bit more of a design element. So I'm going to put this little tiny silver bead to go through next. And now I'm going to do a red bead and just alternate my colors however I want. So there you have two beads. I have a red bead, three beads, a red bead, a silver spacer bead, and a green bead. So now I'm going to do another spacer bead. It might take a little bit longer to do these spacer beads, but I want to show you the difference of the different size beads and how they look. Sometimes when they're tiny like this, there are tools you can use for picking them up, but honestly, I don't use the tiny beads this often, so, and I may not be able to do it today. So you just simply thread it through. And then the next bead is going to be a white bead. So these are just fun and quick. So you can see those are 3 beads on there right now. So next will be another silver bead. And then I'm just going to alternate the colors until I get it to the length that I want. And you can make these as long as you want or as short as you want. But I tend to keep them shorter just so that your scissor fob is not in the way of anything when you're using your scissors. So there's this one. So I'm going to do one more red and then probably finish it off with a white and just keep this one shorter. And now what you do is, let me do one more clear. Now I'm going to finish it with a clear bead. And with these smaller beads, if you don't pick it up just right, it just gets it harder to thread it. There. Now let me do the clear. And I'm going to end it with one more of the small beads. I'm just going to try it this way. Yeah, that'll work. There. One more of the small beads. And now I'm going to, this is where we want to pay attention. So I'm going to take a crimping bead, slide it on here, and then now let's take our charm that we're going to end. And just like we did the top, we're going to make a little tail. So you thread the charm through, you feed it through the crimping bead in your next bead. So you do your crimping bead and your next bead. And then you pull it tight. And what this does is it's going to pull, and that's why this wire, it's good if it's flexible. It's easy for you to pull it. And the thicker it is, you don't want it too thick, but the thicker it is, it gives you something to pull on to. So you see, I have not crimped the bead yet. So we have the charm on, our crimping bead, and then I made that tail and we fed it through this bottom bead and we pulled it tight to make it snug. Then you take your crimping bead tool and you crimp that crimping bead, and now we just cut this off and we're done. So we take our floral wire cutter and get it as close as you can. You can buy these in a kit, your crimping bead tool and your floral wire tool. You can buy them in a kit. But I had already had the wire cutter, so I just needed to get the crimping bead tool. And there is our scissor fob that we made very inexpensively. And you can make several of these, and then we just put it on our scissors. So if you want to give someone a nice pair of scissors or just some regular embroidery scissors and make them a fob, you can do that. Super easy, super inexpensive. Let's make one more, and this time I'm not going to talk it through as much, but I am going to talk it through, but I'm not going to be as detailed. But just so you can see how quickly it can go. So you cut your wire. You get your lobster clasp, you feed it through, you make a tail, you bend it over and make a tail. You get your crimping bead and you thread it through the long wire, and then you make sure it goes over the shorter wire, the tail as I like to call it. Feed it through and give it a good crimp. Here we go. Give it a good crimp, and you can make it for any season. Here, I brought some others for y'all to see. Here are some non-Christmas ones that I have made that you can have a good look at. This one is my favorite. I love blue, so I have Valentine's. I guess I got sidetracked. So do your crimping bead, and now let's do, and this time I'm not going to do the spacers, just so it'll go a little bit faster for us. Oop. Here, hold on one second. My crimping bead didn't go all the way on. So let me get my crimping bead, feed it through, and once you feed it through, you give it a good crimp, and don't be afraid to squeeze it to crimp it. So now I'm just going to feed the, I'm going to do red, excuse me, green. I'm going to feed it through, and now I'm going to give that a good little tail there. I'm going to cut it. Okay, now I'm going to do red. And again, all of your creativity can come out. You can mix any colors you want. You can mix the styles of beads, the sizes. It's just a lot of fun, and you can make them as long or as short as you like. So I'm going to do 2 more beads on here, the red, and now another of the crystal. And I think I want to make it just 2 more beads added to this. I'm going to do another green. Some of my shapes are sharing the same container. So I'm going to do a green and another red, and then end it with a white or a clear. I'll link some of the shops below on Etsy that I have purchased charms and beads from before. And then, of course, Joann's. Everything you need from Joann's. I'll make that list. And Amazon. I bought a lobster clasp in bulk. So what I did is I did my last bead. I just put my crimper bead on. And now I'm going to pick, this time we're going to do some silver bells. So I'm going to slide that on. And the reason you like to keep the tail a little longer is so when you bend it up, you're not working with a tiny piece of thread or wire. You want it longer so you can still work with it. So when you have the tail like this, you wrap it over the top so that your charm at the end is the only thing that it's going through. Then when you fold it over, you push it through the crimping bead, and this is what's going to keep it all from sliding off. And then you push it through that last bead. And so this is what we have when we've done that. and then you just simply pull it through. And sometimes if you can't pull it, you can use your crimper or your floral wire and use it as something to hold on to and pull it tight. So now that you've pulled it through and it's on there, you take your crimping tool, you crimp that last crimping bead, and we still have this tail here that we want to cut off. So you get your floral wire and you trim that off. Get it as close as you can. And you can buy these smaller so you can get closer if you want. And then you are done. And so we made very quickly 2 little Christmas scissor fobs. And like I said, here's some others. Here's a Valentine one. Here's a blue summery one that I love. Here's one with an owl, pink and white. And this one's real fun with these fun colors. So as you can see, very quick, very easy. One time I timed myself and I made about 20 scissor fobs in 40 minutes. So they go pretty fast. A lot of fun to make, and I promise you your friends or you would enjoy these. But I will link all of the shops below so you can know where to get these supplies. So as you can see, making scissor fobs, it's quick, it's easy, just a few steps needed, a few supplies needed, something that you will love to add to your scissors, to your collection, and they make great gifts. So I am going to follow up with a blog tutorial with some photos step-by-step references for you all. I will also list below all of the supplies that you need. Please subscribe to my channel, like the video, and follow up with any questions you may have. You can ask them below, or you can send me an email at theproperstitcher@gmail.com. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook. I'll leave both of those below. So until then, and until the next tutorial, thank you and enjoy making your scissor fobs.